My name is Martha Whiting, and I'm the Content Marketing Manager here at Wynter. And today I'm really excited. We've got Kacie Jenkins here, who's the current Senior Vice President of Marketing at Sendoso, the top gifting and direct mail platform for revenue teams. So I know we all know that one of the most common challenges in organizations is breaking through that noise, and it does feel like every competitor is just using the exact same playbook. And the real problem is that everyone's kind of fighting for this attention, but it also kind of feels like we've forgotten what actually makes people stop, pay that attention, take action, and that element of genuine human connection that comes in. Now, Kacie's led the team throughout this challenge through cutting through the noise and making those memorable experiences that really do drive that pipeline. And so today, Kacie's going to share her practical insights and key principles for building an ABM program that combines the best of digital efficiency with the impact of physical touch points too. So we're going to get stuck into the session today, but just quickly, a quick housekeeping on my end. We're going to be having the Q&A towards the end of the session today. So please do keep your questions coming in throughout. You can put them in the chat box, you can put them in the Q&A, anywhere is absolutely fine, and we'll address those at the end. But in the meantime, please join me in welcoming Kacie. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me. And it looks like Austin from my team is in the chat there. So he can probably handle some questions as well as we get going. All right. Thanks so much for joining from around the world. It is such a pleasure to be here. I wanted to start by framing the conversation. So at Sendoso, one of our core missions is to bring a human touch to what is now an AI world and all of your AI-powered outreach. And we take that pretty seriously. We've been talking a lot about the experience era, and I wanted to frame this conversation there. So what does that mean? What we mean by that is that AI is solving a lot of challenges for us, and it's really exciting and fast moving. But like any other major innovation, it's creating quite a bit of challenges as well. For buyers, this means that AI has made content easier than ever to create and deploy. And it's also made categories more crowded. So we're all competing with a lot more companies in our spaces. Buyers are getting completely inundated. I cannot tell you the amount of times I've heard from the CMOs I talk to every day how exhausting it is just to be online and do their jobs. They're getting hounded by what I like to call faux intimacy, this sort of like Mad Lib marketing where people are personalizing without the personal part. And that's leading to digital fatigue. So in the era of experiences, what we're all looking for is authenticity, human connection, and the brands that are doing this really well aren't just sending more and doing more, they're creating meaningful moments and experiences that actually make people feel something real. So we're seeing actually an interesting shift from digital only strategies to what we call hybrid combinations of real world physical experiences and touch points with the digital. And I'm excited about it. We're also seeing a bit of a shift from e-gift only strategy to physical gifting. So we're kind of at the forefront of watching this shift happen. Digital fatigue is problematic for a lot of reasons, but when you think about ABM, there's a kind of an old school version of it. You create a static list. Sales might tell you a list of accounts they just really want to break into. You launch some generic ads, someone clicks on one, you send them a sequence, and then you try and break in. And typically what's happening now is that gets opened or not, and then nothing happens and it goes closed, lost unresponsive. And everyone is real sad inside. So what we want to help you with is rethinking this mindset. And interestingly, I see that a lot of companies still have their budget really, really heavily dedicated to digital, but aren't thinking about the physical. We're starting to see events take off again. Because that's one of the easiest ways to get in front of someone in person if they're ignoring you online, which, we're all paying less and less attention. But knowing that traditional paid channels are really commanding the lion's share of marketing budgets, it's interesting that I'm not seeing more CMOs think about kind of switching the budgeting allocation. And we know that gifting delivers double the win rate of traditional paid, but I am not telling you to abandon digital because that's silly. What I'm saying is we should combine them for better results. We know buyers are expanding the number of channels that they use to research and interact with companies. They're using agentic search. The buying journey is changing really quickly. So we should be experimenting across more channels. There are only a finite number we can use to reach humans, and we are selling to humans. So we should be thinking a little bit differently about this at this point in time. What does that look like? Let's talk about that. This is a real enterprise buying journey for a deal that we closed back in Q1. And this is a beatified version. I didn't want to expose you to my whole dashboard, but we use Dream Data to look at an account level and a customer journey level across all of our deals. I am really not a fan of what I call old school attribution. So looking at first and last touch only, you're missing all of the good, rich stuff that happens in a deal cycle. And we need to be thinking about both the account itself and all of the people within that account that we're trying to build relationships with. So in this case, this was a pretty large company. Our team does a lot of LinkedIn thought leadership because our audience lives there, and that's another great place to have digital human connection that you can connect in with the physical world. This deal was brought in through my relationships and my LinkedIn. And so there was some organic social happening. And you can see this took months, which is typical. I think we're all seeing more and more channels, long deal cycles, and a lot of dark social engagement happening that's hard to track. Um, in this deal, there were strategic gifting moments. Some people attended webinars. We ran ads targeting the buying committee for this account for a long time, as you can see, and there are pockets of engagement that really sped up before the deal closed. We invited folks to in-person events once we saw that there was some traction and we wanted to get them in person. In this particular deal, actually the LA fires hit and our champion and some of the folks within this account were impacted. So we worked with them and brought them into a social media campaign and sent air filters out to them and to everyone impacted that reached out for help. We did that just because it was a good thing to do, and we should be caring about the people that we work with. And it was not involved in the pitch, or the sales journey, but it did impact our relationships, and we were really happy to be able to show up for the folks that we were working with there. And you'll see there is sales and marketing collaboration across this whole deal. There are BDR calls, there are AE calls, there are AE emails, BDR emails, and we had our marketing team staying engaged as sort of a consulting body to help the marketing team navigate their procurement process. So I show this just to say I don't see a lot of companies looking at their deals this way yet. When you're doing ABM, it's really tricky to explain why you need a symphony of touch points in that deal if you can't visualize them and educate internally. So there are other ways to do this. There are other tools that do this. And if you don't have the budget for a tool, you can start doing this via self-reported attribution and just asking every deal how they came in. But I think it's really, really important to start here, because this is how we know what's working and what's not, and what is adding lift and what's accelerating a deal, and which touch points working together are most impactful. So how might you get started and put this into practice? Here's a 6 touch sequence. This is kind of, just basic structure for how you might think about moving from digital only if you're doing a lot of email and an ad type ABM. How do you mix it up and add some physical touch points in there? So um, I'll talk about in a second the tools that we use, but you can start with warming up with personalized ads. The folks within that buying committee, remember that they're people, so they're probably going to ignore your ads if they're not funny, interesting, very well targeted ads. Um, but this is still, I think, a good layer to start with, making sure that for folks, who haven't thought about you or don't know about you yet, that you're becoming top of mind and they're seeing you regularly. And we know that companies are buying from brands that they've already decided to buy from, and a huge amount of that buying journey you don't actually control. So by the time they're talking to sales, they've already really picked a lineup and probably made a mental decision on their favorite. So we got to start doing the work, as you saw, months earlier. And a lot of that is brand marketing, which should not ever have been villainized, because brand and demand go together. Um, Next step, physical hook. So if you're starting to see, like we saw earlier, pockets where there's engagement around your ads, and I should add that if you are trying paid LinkedIn, you really need to be dedicating in tandem to an organic LinkedIn strategy, because thought leadership ads are super successful, but only if you have your team adding value consistently on LinkedIn. And I would highly recommend you get your exec team and any um, subject matter experts on your team to start doing this consistently so that your ads will be more successful. For us, this did not work until we invested in organic engagement and consistently adding value across our exec team and our marketing team, and several of our AEs in our team has actually started getting demos booked through our DMs fairly consistently. I had 5 this week, I think. So side note, once you've got your ad set up, you want to think about, how do I add a physical touch? So if you're seeing engagement around organic and paid LinkedIn or whatever social channels you're using where your audience lives, make sure that you've done your research. You can send direct mail to combine to align and connect the physical and digital world. So take it out of just the digital layer where they can ignore, land something on their doorstep or in their mailbox. I'll talk about some examples in a little bit here. But that typically is a great way to do a big leap from someone as passively seeing your ads and engaging with nothing to, you can then send an email referencing that the item has landed on their doorstep or in their mailbox. And you can take it into a more personal conversation. And then you can move to social, you can connect with that person, you can start DMing, and you can add value. So then you need to start thinking about, we don't want to pitch slap. We want to continue a really personal relationship where we are useful. And so you can think about, do you have assets? Do you have microsites? Do you have customer case studies? Do you have stats? Wynter does a really good job with this, that you can provide. Or you can just offer a chat. I do a lot of just calls where I listen and learn and trade ideas with other marketing leaders and teams. And once you've gotten to that place, you're in a really good spot to invite them to hang out in person. So invitation directly from you or an executive on your team that's relevant, or your CEO, to an event. If you're doing a sidecar at a conference, invite them there. If you see that you have actually a cluster of accounts in a certain region that are all engaging, you can host a dinner or a lunch or a breakfast, something that's really intimate and catered to topics that those folks are interested in. This is not complicated, but figuring out how to shift from, I'm just going to do a lot of digital touch points, to, I'm going to integrate digital and physical together, is, I think, a new way of thinking for some marketing teams. What's cool is that AI can help us with this. And I know it sounds counterintuitive, but we're actually using AI pretty heavily to improve the experiences that we're creating for humans. And here are some of the tools in our ABM stack. We think of AI as helping us show up as more human not less. AI is great when you have trustworthy, robust data, which we do at Sendoso. We've spent a lot of time getting our data foundations shored up, and we also have the largest gifting database in the world. So we're set up really well for this. I would not advise, if you don't trust your data, adding an AI layer on top until you do, because that makes it really easy to scale garbage or Mad Lib marketing gone wrong, where you're saying, hey Jim, and you're sending that email to me. So we don't want to be doing that, because that destroys the connection instantly. I'm going to walk through these really quick, just give an idea of how we use them. If you have questions, connect with me on LinkedIn and we can chat more, or connect with Austin. User Gems for us is a game changer. We use it for AI-powered, really deep CRM research. It plugs into Salesforce. It mines Salesforce from an account and a contact level. It looks at past close loss ops and folks who have moved from one company to another. Folks who have gotten promoted, people who are hiring, all sorts of signals that are really helpful for us to know that there's a good reason for us to reach out. And we think about AI in terms of resonance. So helping us identify who should we reach out to, when should we reach out, how should we reach out, what might resonate with this person to really make them feel something meaningful. So User Gems is great at that. We use GemE, which is an AI SDR. It's kind of the Ferrari of AI outbound. There are massive amounts of prompts behind this thing, and we trust it, and we get love notes back. We combine it with Sendoso for personalized outbound messaging and personalized gifting combined to our target accounts. We obviously use Sendoso. Smart Send is AI-powered personalized gifting. So you can figure out one-to-many what to send to a whole bunch of people at different ABM accounts that might resonate with them specifically. And we're also launching in beta currently Smart Delivery, which will provide you addresses when you don't have them. So the surprise and delight of element of gifting for ABM is really important. And we're making sure that you can land something on someone's doorstep even if you don't have the address. Lovable, we've been, and Replit, we've been getting into for vibe coding. I can't believe I'm saying vibe coding, but I actually am super into it. And there are a lot of cool digital experiences that you can code and connect to a physical send. I'll give you some examples in a sec. We use Granola for turning all of our meeting transcripts and insights into content and messaging that we use across a bunch of platforms that we know will resonate with our target accounts because we're using their words and we're using trends and patterns that we see across all of them. Shout out to Wynter. We also use them to test that messaging with real humans in our ICP. Midjourney, we probably all know. We use that for cool visuals for all of these things. Clay, we're using to enrich a whole bunch of data, and we pair it with Webflow for personalized experiences for our target accounts. Carrot is a cool one-to-many ABM ad tool that we've been playing with. It's, I think, one of the biggest challenges with ABM ads is it's been really manual, and you have to do it one at a time for a list of 50 to 100 accounts or more if you're doing programmatic like growth ABM. This has been a cool solution for us. We use SQL, which we're using right now for webinars that we invite our target accounts to, and we repurpose the content out of those, just like Wynter does. And then Dream Data, I mentioned, for customer journey insights that go way beyond first and last touch. This is a portion of our stack. We actually have a pretty robust tech stack, but I thought this might be helpful for people to see before I go into examples. So, behind the scenes, we're using a lot of stuff to help us do this well. Here's a way we think about anything that we're putting out to market. Every touch point should pass the dinner party test. So would someone leave a dinner party and go talk about this and remember it? The why is really important in ABM. I see a lot of ABM programs that are just based on the who. So you get the list and then you're just yeeting stuff out to a list without thinking about the why. And that's where we get the disconnect between personalized, quote unquote, and actually personal. Uh, we want to make people feel like we've taken the time and put in the work to really understand them and their interests and their needs, and to be useful. There's actually a psychological element to human beings where when we feel like someone has spent more time on something or more effort and work has gone into it, we value it more. So we should not be sending things that feel like we feel to someone else like we've put zero time and effort in. This is an example from User Gems, who uses Sendoso. So we're mutual customers. Uh, User Gems is kind of at the forefront of this. They have direct mail and gifting baked into their entire ABM outbound process, and they are of course using Gemi for a lot of that. They prioritize from the very beginning, adding a humanized element to every stage of engagement with an ABM account. So they're really trying not to be transactional. They use what we call party links. So they are having the same way that we do at Sendoso. They are identifying within their target accounts where they see great intent signals happening, and they are automating emails that go out with gifts or suggestions baked in, and landing physical gifts on those people's doorstep or sending creative, thoughtful e-gifts. There is no manual touch needed for any of this, so it kind of just makes money in the background. But for really high touch, high priority accounts, which you may have a smaller list of VIP accounts that you're working, the reps can choose their gifts and have kind of like a bit of a higher touch, higher budget for those accounts to make sure that you're really resonating. While other, everyone on LinkedIn pretty much has been crying about outbound being dead. Response rates have been really low. I think people are struggling with email. There was just an announcement from Apple that's freaked everyone out. UserGem's team is seeing 8 to 27% response rates using these signal-based gifting campaigns. And I think the secret behind this, because we do it as well, is being really relevant, timely, and genuine in the way that you approach this. And it's okay that AI powers it. We get a lot of questions when we send these out to marketers asking how we do it, and we will explain it every time. So we're not hiding it. I think that's really important. Be transparent about what you're doing. But the cool thing about it is it's so well researched, and the gift is so well personalized, and so is the note, that people feel really understood, which is not how I feel about most of the sales outbound that's sitting in my inbox right now. Unfortunately, I think we can do better. Here's some more examples. So, like, what actually does this look like? It's a mindset change. So don't just put an ROI calculator or an assessment or a quiz on your website and email it out or post it once. Have your team vibe code an ROI calculator, because you can do that probably overnight. I'm sure some of you saw Tom Wentworth's tutorial on this. It was awesome. Pair it with a gifting campaign. So send out something funny and cute to your target accounts. And then you can automate sending swag to a certain amount to complete it first. So there's a surprise and delight gamification element. Give people a reason to want to engage with the stuff that you're building, and make it harder to ignore. I don't think I've engaged with an ROI calculator on any website anywhere. But this is a whole different ball game where we're having to pull people out of the digital void and give them a human reason to engage and remember us. Think about this in the same way I just showed you how our deal cycles progress. So these are examples across a deal where you're trying to break in and you're trying to reach as many people inside that account, connect with them on a genuine, authentic level, and move that deal forward. So once you've got to a point where you can invite someone to an event, don't just send them an email, or don't just send them a one-line DM. Send a physical invite, send a nice gift box. Virtual events are actually very successful for a lot of our customers and for us. So if you can't get people in person, do a really high-end, nice virtual event where you can connect your customers and prospects with folks that they can learn from and they admire. We see a lot higher attendance registration rates when we send something like this versus we just send an invitation and a link. This extends to all events. So if you have a booth, instead of just trying to desperately lead scan people and people are walking by grabbing tchotchkes off of the booth, bring them in, have them scan a QR code and select a gift like they're shopping to send home to their family. We do this at pretty much every booth. We have a lot of people call their kids or call their wife from the booth and have them choose what they want the person at our booth to send home. It's super cute. It takes it from a conversation where they feel like another number in your lead list to like a lot friendlier and more personal of an engagement, and you learn more that way. And then you can take notes for the follow-up next. And when you're passing those notes to your sales team, they will then know that you learned all about this person's dog and how they love to hike with them, or their favorite restaurant, or whatever you learned from that conversation that went far beyond a pitch as they're trying to escape you walking by the booth. We all know event ROI is really about the follow-up. So it's about getting as many people from your target accounts to the booth, having a great conversation, learning as much as you can, taking really great notes, and then following up in a way that's going to resonate. So if you're following up and you're just sending emails, I would imagine a lot are getting ignored. Email response rates are way down. And for something like this, everyone gets inundated right after the event, oftentimes while they're traveling. We see better results waiting a second to let them get home, and sending a gift that will land when they get home. So they get home and there's something right there on the doorstep for them. And we're trying to make sure that we're handing the AE enough information that it's something that's going to be funny or delightful or memorable. So the other thing we often do is if we're hosting a dinner, we make sure that we're sending out Uber or Lyft codes to everyone so they can get home safely. So there are a number of layers here that you can implement. We've also had customers like Pavilion stand up full retail stores where people can try things on and engage with them and then send them home. And it's just a different way of thinking about things. This is one of my personal favorites. I went to a User Gems dinner recently where Varun was talking about this, and then a whole bunch of other people at the table started talking about how cool this was and how they had received one of these as well. This is a fake magazine that this company created using AI completely, and landed on the target account's doorsteps, and then followed up and congratulated them tongue in cheek on making Person of the Decade. This we actually see a lot of our customers doing things like this. This is the most creative version I've seen in a while, but we also see customers highlighting folks within their industry and their own customers and creating really cool little zines, and landing them on people's coffee tables. This was 2 months ago and people were still talking about how cool it was. So I would consider this a pretty massive success. I think it drove them some pretty significant revenue with their target accounts. And it didn't take that much work because they used AI to do the heavy work of creating the magazine itself, and then shipped it out to all of these folks and got a little LinkedIn pop where everyone shared them and laughed about how funny it was. So this type of creativity, I think, is a level that's needed. You'll see it's a tiny little comment there that he made. Sorry, it's so small, but he basically said this is the future of marketing, and it's pretty cool to see AI paired with direct mail. How do you measure this? This is the tricky part for all of us, I think. So we just talked about the difficulties of measuring ABM with first last touch. I don't think it's really possible. I see a lot of marketers trying to tie themselves in knots, launching and running ABM programs that are limited by first last touch attribution models. We really recommend, as I mentioned, looking at it from an account level and looking at progressing a certain portion of your target accounts within a quarter or a year, and making sure that you're building in the time expectation for how long this actually takes, knowing that there's oftentimes huge pressure to deliver results in a month or a quarter. And oftentimes these accounts are going to take longer, and you need to think about your deal cycles and also the portion that you can't control when your accounts are researching and getting to know you. So we're looking at deal acceleration. We're looking at deal velocity. Are we seeing accounts move from one stage to the next, from aware or researching to engaged? Are we seeing more folks within an account engage with us faster when hybrid touch points are involved? And we do. I mean, I actually have the data to prove this. And we're looking at deal size. We see higher ACVs on accounts where we're combining these physical and digital touch points, and sales and marketing is collaborating together to create little spikes in the deal. And we're looking at relationships as well. So are we seeing response rates improve? Are we seeing meeting acceptance and show improve? Are we seeing more champions inside of these accounts? And are we able to, after post close, enable those champions and leverage them for expansion and for word of mouth, and help them get promoted? Customer retention as well. So I talked a lot about pre-sales. This applies to post-sales as well. We actually use ABM for expansion. So we are using user gems for our customer base as well as for new business. And you can do the same things post-sales, where you're thinking all the way through from an ABX mindset about how do we create automated triggers for customer milestones, for product usage, for activation, for anniversaries, all sorts of things. And you can automate them so you don't have to think about them and have someone keeping a calendar of when to send gifts or reach out to whom. But this is, I think, a good model to layer on top of just the pipeline dashboard that I know you're probably staring at every 5 seconds, like I am. There are a lot of tools that help with this these days, and people are building exciting new ones all the time. So an ABM action plan. I would recommend auditing your current touch points to the best of your ability. Like, how much are you just doing purely digital when you're trying to engage your target accounts, and where could you shift that? Obviously, look at where you have the lowest hanging and the highest value within your lists. I highly recommend creating dynamic lists of some kind and using something like user gems or a combination of a bunch of data, for second, third party data, and using something like Clay to help you automate scoring based on intent and fit. So you don't just have a static list that's hard to work with because you're not getting the intelligence around it. Test a hybrid sequence. If you don't have a lot of these happening across your ABM approach, start with a small one. You can pull a Wake the Dead list. You can pull a competitive win back list. Look at what you think might be an interesting experiment, put together a hybrid sequence, and then measure the difference. And make sure you're thinking about not just, did this turn into immediate pipeline or did the last touch work, but, are we seeing a difference in the way that our accounts are engaging and buying from us? Key takeaways. Human connection is our strongest currency. I can't emphasize that enough. I think we're all seeing it across LinkedIn and in conversations offline. Everyone is looking for authenticity, transparency, to feel like they're connected with other humans, because they're getting absolutely bombarded with things that don't feel human, or caring or personal. Um, Gifting is really helpful here. We're trying to make gifting at Sendoso as easy as executing a digital campaign and really easy to mix in with your digital efforts. And AI is also really important. It's a non-negotiable at this point for using your data to understand how to be relevant and memorable with your customers, and also to execute faster so that you can test and experiment faster, fail faster, get better faster. Um, and I think that concludes what I got here. We do a lot of talking. Our whole team talks to folks about this all the time. I'm always talking to customers about it. Please connect on LinkedIn if you'd like to chat. I'd love to meet you. I'd love to hear about your ABM journey. We can all learn from each other. I think a lot of this is tricky, especially the attribution and tracking piece. And we all gotta learn from each other and support each other and improve together.
Okay, perfect. Thank you ever so much, Kacie. That was super, super interesting. We've had quite a lot of questions coming through as well, so thank you so much. Let's kick off with some of these questions here. I've just got a quick one from Sam saying, where can we download the slides? And I'll send those to you tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Central Time. So tomorrow morning, you'll get a full download of everything from the session today and the slides as well. But yeah, Ari is asking here a bit about kind of smart deliverability, getting home addresses being really challenging. Can you just tell us more about that and how you overcome it?
Yep. It is a complicated challenge. I think that's why no one else has solved it. In the same way that you probably have JP Morgan Chase, Citibank, credit card companies landing mail in your mailbox that you're unsure, how it got there. There is enough data out there that we can leverage it to find where people live. There are some complications around people who live in apartments or are moving, every 6 months. That's a kind of an unsolvable problem at the moment, but we have actually found that we can find addresses to 92% accuracy currently. So it's kind of a complete shift on the ability to surprise and delight, which is exciting.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, that kind of touches on Tiffany's question as well in terms of getting those addresses in a compliant way. And what do you do if there's a huge roadblock there? Do you just leave it as is? What happens then?
If we can't get the address, or there's not a good way to do it, or we're not, we don't have a high degree of certainty, you're going to be able to default to what we do now, which is address confirmation. So an email will send to the recipient. It will show them this is the gift with a message. Kacie would like to send you 7 pounds of Wagyu beef for your barbecue this weekend. Please let us know where you'd like to send it, and then they can send it where they'd like to send it.
Okay, perfect, brilliant. And yeah, everyone, do please keep your questions coming in throughout. I've just got a few more for Kacie here, but feel free to pop any if you have in the chat box as well. Kacie, it'd be really good to know a little bit more in terms of budgeting for this. I'm sure lots of people are thinking, how do we budget for this? Where do we start? What does that look like? I know, big and very vague question, but it would be really good just to hear a little bit more from you.
Yeah, and I would think about it in the same way that you're thinking about your paid budget allocation. This is another channel where you can get higher impact impressions. So thinking about it in terms of what percentage of potentially digital spend where you're not seeing ROI or you're not getting as much out of it anymore, could you allocate to reaching people in the physical world? We actually find that when you're incorporating gifting, it's often less about the cost of the gift, meaning it doesn't have to be super, super expensive. It's about the thoughtfulness of the gift. And we see an average campaign for a large enterprise deal sending quite a few gifts. Sometimes it's 100 plus, and ranges wildly from e-gifts and all the way up to something that's really nice across months and months and months and many, many people in a deal cycle. The average opportunity would see about 3 total gifts, and and people are running, pretty complex campaigns where they're targeting, large and small lists, like I just mentioned. But the average gift cost is about $50.
Okay.
So it's actually less expensive than a lot of people think to do this well if you're doing it thoughtfully,
Mhm.
especially when you think about how much you're already spending per lead and what you're getting out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, amazing. This is really, really helpful advice. And I know you spoke as well in terms of like pulling people out of that digital void. So how should marketers decide whether to, send that quick digital gift versus a tangible item? What does that kind of weighing up experience look like, do you think?
I think it depends on where you are with that person and what stage that the account is in. So um, if if you haven't connected with that person yet,
Mhm.
and you're just seeing that they're sort of like passively engaging, that's probably a good time to send them uh, something that's kind of like, highly personalized, good enough to get their attention, but it may be an e-gift. It may be, something that you find through Amazon because you're paying attention to their LinkedIn posts, or you're using Sendoso to pay attention to their LinkedIn posts. And then, once you connect with someone and you're DMing and you understand more about them and their challenges and you feel like there's momentum there, that's when you're
Mhm.
going to start to think about, what are the stages of progression in your deal, and where might you want to start sending a physical gift to actually bridge the digital, and deepen that connection.
Okay. Okay, perfect. And I'm sure you see so much gifting going on. I know you mentioned a few examples in your presentation already, but for you personally, Kacie, like what's your like most memorable gift that you've received? And yeah, how did that make you feel as well? I'm intrigued because you must see so many. So I'm curious to pick your brains
We
yeah.
see a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah.
Like, personally, I'm fairly simple. The favorite thing I've gotten recently is, I told someone I had newly met, that I was trying to be more consistent with video on LinkedIn because it's something that makes me really uncomfortable. and and I told her that I every morning try and film a video while I'm drinking my cup of Earl Grey, and she
Okay.
sent me an incredibly nice, like, high end, like, gilded tea set,
Oh, lovely.
that I could do my videos with, and it made it more fun, for me every day, and helped me with something I was trying to achieve. So that's a
Mhm.
level of thoughtfulness. It doesn't have to be a gilded tea set, but the fact that she was like, "Oh, this is a goal that you're trying to personally accomplish. How could I make that more enjoyable for you so that you continue the habit?" Was excellent.
Mhm. Okay, perfect. And in terms of as well, in terms of sharing things on LinkedIn, 'cause I'm sure that's a goal for a lot of these campaigns as well. How do you encourage people to do so without it again feeling kind of faux intimate and crossing that line between you're pushing people to want to share things? How do you approach that fine line?
Are you asking about sharing gifts or
Yeah,
sharing in general?
sharing the moment, and sharing the gifts, taking that photo, sharing it just as if you would probably take your video with your tea set. You want it to feel authentic, you want it to feel natural to the person. So, yeah, is there ways you can kind of cultivate that? I suppose is my way of asking.
This is a really good question, and we should talk about this really quickly. Anything that feels transactional is not good, in my opinion. So you've ruined the gift. The whole concept of a gift is that you're not asking for anything in return, although you are hoping for something in return across all of these things. Marketing
Yeah.
is should not feel like you're trading something for their time. Um,
Hmm.
we do have customers who are, gating gifts based on, meeting needs to be booked. It's not my, and they're successful with it. It's not my favorite way to interact. So it's personal preference. Um, when you're sending something to someone, if you did your job right, they will share it. The law of reciprocity and the way humans work makes them feel like sharing it if it's something delightful and they feel like you really put in the time and effort. Odds are
Hmm.
they'll share it. We do not ask people to share things. Sometimes we will put a little line in the box that says, if you're moved to celebrate with us, share it, and we'll amplify it for you. Um, this works better when your team has been investing time, so you actually can amplify someone else and help them with their personal brand. But
Hmm.
yeah, I think, it's a question of how do you frame things so it doesn't feel like you are asking them to do you a favor in return.
No, exactly. And I think, like you said, going back to that faux intimacy thing, you want it to feel very organic. You want it to feel like it's connected to that person individually. And just in terms of the faux intimacy part as well, do you have any other advice for people who are kind of toying with this at the moment? How to avoid feeling like you're being, I don't know what the word is. Yeah, faux, I guess. Do you have any kind of broad advice in terms of how to avoid that sort of?
I mean, I think a lot of this is done with good intentions.
Yeah.
It's certainly not malicious. I if you are using AI to
Mhm.
send out personalized
Yeah.
outreach of any kind, you need to be testing the crap out of it.
Yeah.
So you really should test it a ton to find everything that can think through everything can go wrong and write that into your prompts. Um,
Mhm.
if you're sending a gift, uh, you really should be thinking about how do I make this feel real and authentic and like I am just thinking about this person and wish this person well versus I am like connecting with this person to get something I want
Exactly.
out of it. If you send them a pitch, if you send them a really nice gift, for example, and then you pitch slap them after they accept your connection request, you've ruined the entire purpose of what you're trying to do. Um, so every step is important because every step should deepen the trust and the credibility and the relationship. And you have to think about it that way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Okay, amazing. Well, thank you ever so much, Kacie. I don't think we have any more questions from everyone at this moment in time. But if anyone does have any other questions at all, please feel free to reach out to Kacie on LinkedIn. Her LinkedIn is on the screen here. And if you have any questions as well about Wynter, please do reach out to me. I'll be happy to answer any of your questions as well. But thank you ever so much, everyone, for joining today. It's been such a good session to hear everything from you as well, Kacie. So thank you, everyone, for joining. And hopefully, we'll see you all next week.